Hello, YouTube. I'm back. Hello. Yes, if you've missed me, you may not have missed me. You may not even care. I've not been doing any videos for a while, but yeah, I'm back. Um, this is going to be kind of like a little bit of an update about me, a little studio tour for the geeks amongst you, and yeah, just general bit of studio nonsense. So, yeah, I've been very quiet this year, as you will have noticed. I've had a bit of a weird year. I mean, obviously, we started off at the beginning of the year with lockdown again. I then had some problems with my eye. I had a torn retina, which put me out of action for quite a while because I basically couldn't see anything out of this eye because it was like full of blood, which is there's still a fair bit of stuff floating around in there now. It is clearing. I've managed to get away without having to have any eye surgery, which is nice because I don't want eye surgery. And I need to back off the mic a bit, I think, because I'm getting a bit close there. So that was sort of like the first half of the year. Those of you who kind of regularly follow the channel will know this time last year I had a puppy, which Freddie the Cockapoo, who is now massive. I should bring him in and show you. I'll do that on another video. Who's yeah, because I showed him to you when he was a puppy, and he's now big. Love him to bits, but he's hard work, bless him. So that's kind of got in the way of studio stuff. I've also, because my main kind of job is I teach, I'm a drum teacher, if you can see over there in the background, there's a couple of drum kits. So I teach, what am I doing? I don't know, back there anyway. I also, during lockdown, taught myself how to play the piano properly. Yeah, no, check me out. I've done a couple of the early grades. So I've actually started teaching piano as well as drums, and also I'm now teaching music tech and DJing stuff, both here in the studio and in a few local schools. So that's taken up loads of my time. And obviously, because that pays the bills better than doing YouTube, that's kind of got in the way. But I've missed doing YouTube. I've missed doing live streams because I started off doing regular live streams, trying to write an album, which I had to abandon it because I just didn't have the time to do it. Again, some live stream stuff is something I want to do, some live performances. And yeah, so that's kind of been my year. The album I was working on is sort of getting there. Been lacking quite a lot of inspiration as well this year for doing not only just YouTube, but just music in general. But having said that, I have written a few tracks. Which have been played again on BBC Introducing, which is always nice, and got picked like as track of the week, and got on Fresh on the Net as well. Got on there a couple of times this year on the Fresh Faves thing. If you're in the UK, you'll know what I'm talking about. So there is going to be like an album. I might do like a couple of EPs rather than an album. I'm also doing another album called No Beats, which is like reworked versions of some of my back catalogue, but with all the drums and percussion taken out, so more of like a chilled ambient kind of thing. That will be out certainly by the end of the year. That's ready. I've just got to sort that out with the distributor. So that is on its way, and there will be some more new music and some live performances. And yeah, I need to get back out there and do some gigs. I've got a gig coming up in Newark, Nottinghamshire, in a couple of weeks' time, actually 2 weeks today, which will be the first time I've played live since March 2019. So looking forward to that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my live, because my live stuff's changed quite a lot, because I bought a new laptop and so on. So what I thought I'd do is we'll geek out, we'll do a bit of a studio tour, just talk a little bit about how I've got everything connected, talk a little bit about the live set, and then yeah, then I'll go and have some coffee or something. I don't know, something like that. So I've got a few. Let's just put the flashy multi-camera angle thing on. Give you kind of an overview of all the studio. So you can see me here in the top corner there, which is the view we had before. So moving that way to that side is like a close-up of the live rig, and then down in that where I'm going, that way. That way. Anyway, bottom right-hand corner is another view of the live thing where you can see me sitting on the chair. Hello. And then down below me is the view where I've got the deluge and the modular. So I sort of wanted to rearrange the studio a little bit. I'm sort of trapped in, really. So here you can see it kind of goes all the way around me in the NASA Space Control Center sort of thing. So this is kind of like the studio area, and then that's the teaching area over there where the drum kits are, and I've got like a digital piano which is propped up against the wall and so on. So yeah, I kind of wanted everything to be sort of accessible, but the main thing I wanted was for the live part, the live rig, which is this bit over here. I wanted to be able to just take that out when I go out gigging without having to disconnect too much stuff and just move it away and then bring it back into the studio. So that's why I've got that over there. So let's have a look. Let's just talk through what we've got in front of me here. So we've got laptop here. So this is my old laptop. I've recently bought a new laptop, a Surface Pro 7, which I'm now, which I'll talk about when I do the live stuff, because I'm using that for playing live. I always swore I'd never use a laptop for playing live, and yeah, I am now. Sorry, so shoot me. But I'll explain why. And actually, I'm going to do a pretty in-depth series coming up, which will probably be the first series to do on my new live set. So preparing how I play live and preparing tracks and doing performances and so on. So this laptop is kind of the one that just sits in the studio all the time, so the Surface goes around with me quite a bit. This is the old one. So I'm running Ableton Live on there at the moment. So I've got Live 11, which should, if I click on that, you'll see there. I've got nothing on there. Very exciting, I know. And then I'm using that for streaming and recording as well. So this is being recorded on there. So my idea is when I'm streaming, I will have the Surface. If I'm using Ableton on there, that will kind of come across wirelessly to this for OBS, and it should make streaming a bit smoother. I hope. Streaming's never smooth. None of this is ever smooth. But anyway, we've got an Ableton Push 2, which I think I bought earlier this year, if I remember rightly. Upgraded from the 1. Very sexy. I've got to admit, I probably don't use it as much as I should, because I tend to use a lot of hardware stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of a mixture of, you know, hardware and software. So we've got the Push 2 there. Moving along a little bit further, we've got the Behringer RD8, the 808 remake. Keep looking at getting the 909 remake, the RD9. Again, I don't really need one, but you know, I want one, so you know, I might get one. So yeah, I mean, again, great drum machine. I probably don't use it as much as I should, and it's something I will try and use a bit more. Some crappy cheap headphones there. Moving over onto this side, let's no, I'll do it from this camera. What's going to be the best camera for that? Yeah, I'll stick with that one. So this is where my microphone won't reach. So a bit of stuff, old stuff over here. I've got an old MPK Mini MIDI controller, which I do occasionally still use. It's quite useful. Behind that, we've got a Nano Control 2, which again I occasionally use. I've got a couple of the these things, the modal synths, the Craft synths, which are actually, for the price, they're really cool. I've got the drum one, which is the drum one. That one, I think. Yeah, because it's called Craft Rhythm. Really cool little drum machine. But this one's got a bit weird. It tends to kind of get really hot when I plug it in with via the USB, so I'm not using that so much. And a little like mono synth, which you make these as a little kit, and it's great fun to make, and they actually sound really cool. And I've just like pimped this one up with some knobs. So moving on underneath here, which you probably can't see, I've got the Korg NTS little synth thing. Tiny little synth, again, one that you make as a little like clip it together sort of thing. Very fiddly, if you've got fingers like mine, but an awesome sounding synth. I think it's about £80 or £90. It's worth it just for the reverb on that. You can use it as an effects unit. Absolutely brilliant. Sounds amazing. Moving around, we've got a Micro Brute. The big kind of main synth I use a lot is the System 8, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I know a lot of people don't like the green lights and stuff on it, but you know, it's brilliant. At the push of the button, it's a Jupiter 8. The push of another button, it's a Juno 6 or whatever. It just basically does everything you need a synth to do, and I love it. And I've got the I brought the silver end panels for it to make it look a bit more retro. You can get wooden ones as well. I went for the silver for the Juno look rather than the Jupiter look. I think that was the right way around, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Underneath there, which is not being used at the moment, is an Alesis Nano. Is it? Nano Verb effects unit. Okay, so that again, it's a nice little unit. It's got loads of different effects on it. I tend to kind of have phases of using that and not. At the moment, it's not being used at all. We've got a mixer here. I'll talk about mixing and connections in a bit. Next to that, we've got the Behringer 303 remake, the T, whatever it's called. The TD3. Again, very cool little thing. I mean, if you know me, I love my acidy stuff. So that one's nice. Behind that, we've got the MB33, made by MAM, which is also another 303 recreation. Going further on, there and there, we've got the Uno synth and the Uno drum, and behind that we've got a TR6S, which again was a new acquisition earlier this year. Great old drum machine, that TR6S, and actually you can make whole songs on it. I've had videos on that. So what I'll do is let's just give you a quick run through on a closer camera of all that stuff so far. So there we've got the laptop. I'm using a crappy little audio interface here just for getting sound in and out. Actually, the monitors, Tannoy Reveals, which I've had for ages. So we've got one there and obviously one there. Over here, we've got the Behringer drum machine, which you couldn't see on the other camera. Over there, we've got a little record deck and the amp. So the amp is powering the speakers because they're passive speakers, and then if I want to play some vinyl records or sample them, I can do so from here. And then moving around, I'll just give you a quicker look at all those. So sound's going to go a bit crappy here because I'll do it from the phone. So there's the microbrute. We've got the NTS1 under there. The Nano Verb sits in there. So this is one of the mixers. And then we've got the Behringer, the MB33, a load of old batteries, the Uno stuff, and the TR6S, and then some effects units that I'm not using over there. So that's that side of the studio. Let's switch over to this side of the studio, which is the wrong camera, which is that one. So sorry, it's not the best camera in the world, that one, but it does the job. So this is sort of the modular, full-on analog section of the studio. Let's move that so you can actually see it. But kind of centered around, let's just turn those lights down a bit, the Deluge. So if you know my channel, you know I'm a massive fan of the Deluge. I use it absolutely tons. And this is sort of the center of the studio. So this is controlling everything. So I've got MIDI cables going out of here, going into every bit of equipment in the studio. I'm sort of using a combination of MIDI splitters and MIDI through. If anybody wants me to go through that in full detail on another video, then comment in the below this video and I will go through all of that. But basically it's sending MIDI out. This is actually a splitter that's going out here. So for example, that's probably going into the Model D, and then that's got MIDI through, so that's going to something else, which will then split out and go to something else. And yeah, so for example, if I want to play the Model D, that's on MIDI channel 4, so I just put the Deluge on 4, and I can play the Model D, which I'm just currently working on a Stefan Bodzin kind of bass sort of sound. Sorry, that's on MIDI channel 2, I should say, not MIDI channel 4. I've got little stickers on all my hardware, so I know which channel is on which, because I can never remember. So there's the Model D. I mean, a lovely synth. Again, it's something I had sort of rack mounted underneath the desk a while ago, and I found I didn't use it, so I've got it back out on the desktop and using it a lot more now, and it's flipping lovely. I've got an old Yamaha, which is rack mounted drum machine under here, which is not connected to anything at the moment, and then an old little patch bay on the top there, which again I'm not using. Sitting above and below the MS-20 over there. We've got the good old faithful Minilog, which is not plugged in at the moment because I've run out of plug sockets for recording this, so I've not got that plugged in at this stage. We've then got the modular over here. I will do a bit of a closer thing on the modular. Sorry for the battering the microphone there. So this is the modular. So this is in a Dreadbox case, the 168, which is a great case because you've got like a MIDI to CV converter built in, which I'm not using actually. And then we've got like 2 different mixers, which I'm using loads of, which we'll talk about in a sec. And then splitters and a built-in LFO. So they're all in the case off the bat, which is really good. so you don't have to buy extra stuff. In terms of modules, I've got various sound generating modules. I've got the Behringer system 110, is it 100? But it's the 110 anyway, oscillator. So that is being controlled from this. I've got MIDI to CV converter there. So that's on MIDI channel 4 from the Deluge. So if I play the Deluge. Okay, so that's controlling that. And then if I remember rightly, I've got this amp envelope is controlling that one. I've got a Doepfer, the A110, VCO, and that is being kind of going through this filter. And then we've got the Doepfer VCA audio dividers and mixer and so on over there. I've got a slew limiter over there, which is controlling that also. I've got the pluck from 2HP, which is there, which is a really nice kind of like plucky sound, obviously. And then we've got the Platts module from Mutable Instruments, which is very versatile. That one is being controlled, that and the Doepfer actually are being controlled by CV from the Deluge. So on CV2 is the Platts. Just change that. So we've got all these different kind of sound sources on it. And so on, yeah, and then we've got like other envelopes and splitters and sample and hold stuff, and a gap there that needs filling with more stuff. So that's that side of the studio, which is sort of the modular analog area. And then round the back we've got the live bit. So if I change to that camera. So yeah, this is basically my live rig. This kind of like black tabletop thing is, I think, is it made by Gravity stands? It's basically it's like a top thing that goes on a normal keyboard stand. I've just got a normal X keyboard stand under there, and it's really sturdy. It's a little bit heavier than I would have kind of hoped for carrying around. But if you're going to a venue that's not got like tables and stuff at the correct height, absolutely brilliant for that. And I think it's about 40 or 50 quid, something like that. So it's not stupid expensive. So yeah, this is basically what I play with live. So I've got the MX1 is controlling everything in Ableton Live. So I've got that when I play live in external mixer mode. We've got the complete control, the S25, because this looks quite nice in a dark gig with the LED lights on there. We've got the TB03 and these Yamaha drum pads, the DTX12, which you can just about see the edge of there. I'll switch to the other camera in a second and just give you a bit of a closer look of that. And then we've got the Surface Pro, which is over here. So this is a Surface Pro 7. It's an i5 processor, which handles everything really well. And I'm using the app called Touchable, which basically turns it on into a controller, which I'll show you in a second. And that's running on the same machine as Ableton Live. So, like I say, this section here is all I've got to do is just take out a couple of connections, and then that can be gone out with me when I go and play live. So let's just give you a quick closer look at the live stuff. So these are the drum pads that we use here. I'm not actually using any of the sounds from these. These are actually triggering samples in Ableton Live, so that'll be a mixture of drum samples. I'll play some keyboard parts as well on that. Like I say, I'm going to do a full in-depth video on how all that works. We've got the S25. The great thing with this is you can program, because I've basically got all these MIDI mapped to different parameters in Live, but you can name them. So you see, you've got this little LED display, and you just go into the editor and you can customize these. Rather than just having CC whatever, you can put in what you want it to be. So it's great, you don't have to have stickers all over it like I've got over here on the MX1. So yeah, MX1, fairly standard kind of thing. Let's say that's being run in external mixer mode for live use. When I'm in the studio, generally it's in the mix mode, not the ext mode. TB03 obviously speaks for itself, does what it does on the tin. And then this is the Surface Pro. If you switch over, so that's my Ableton Live set. If you get the pen off the side there. So this is the set I'm currently working on. These are all my different tracks. And I'm going to do a really in-depth series of videos on how this all works. Basically, I've got it so I can do it like, I can play live pretty much like a DJ sort of set. All my tracks can be mixed from one end to the other. And then rather than having it on that screen, because you need to use a mouse for that, this is the app that's called Touchable, which basically turns your laptop sort of into a push controller, but better. So if I kind of go out from the split screen, you can see there's all my tracks. So I can launch all my scenes and clips from here, just at the press of a button on the screen here. And then we can split the screen as well. So on the bottom, I've got all my channel faders, so I can mix things in and out. We've got, if I press that, we've got a crossfader at the bottom, so I can go from, because I kind of got my tracks on either deck A or deck B. And you can also even have it, let's just go into that. You can have like a push type controller on there. You can have XY pads. That's doing something crazy now. We can have whatever that is. I don't know, but I tend to just have it usually on that when I'm scrolling around the set, and then I'll have it on split screen with the bottom screen with the faders there. But I mean, you can have these other things on that screen as well. So great app. It's not dead cheap. This is the Windows version, which I think was about 25 quid. There is an iPad version which I think is under 20 quid. And there's a Mac version as well, because I could have a separate iPad and run this on there, and it will connect via USB or Wi-Fi to the laptop. This one's a little bit hit and miss. When it's running on the same machine, it doesn't always connect exactly as I would like it to. That's something I've got to sort of address before I play live with it too much. But yeah, that's the live set. And so that's pretty much it. That's the studio geekiness. So yeah, like I say, in terms of MIDI, everything is coming from the Deluge, so that can control everything. I just got to change the MIDI channels or go CV1, CV2 on there. In terms of audio, it's a bit of a mess, if I'm being honest, audio-wise. The Deluge, I think if I remember rightly, and the RD8 are going into the MX1. I don't know why, it's just the way I've done it. Pretty much everything on this side... Let's get the microphone back so you can probably hear me better. Everything on this side, so the micro brutes, the Unos and all that are going into this Behringer mixer here. I've then got anything that's coming out the MX1, which is mostly stuff from Ableton with a couple of other bits of hardware. That's also going into this mixer, as is this microphone. That is then, in fact, all the modular stuff as well. So on this, the mixer that's on the built into the case, I've got obviously all the modules from there going into it. I've also got the Model D going into there, the mini logs going into there, and also the MS-20s going into there. It just cuts down on cables going all the way around the studio. Yeah, and that then is also going into this mixer as a submix. I've then got an output from there which is going into this sound card up here, which then enables me to record it to the computer. Yeah, it's ridiculously complicated, and I'm sure there's probably a much easier way of doing it than that. But it works, and it seems to be working at the moment. I've had it set up like this for a couple of weeks now, and I can just come in the studio, turn it on, and fingers crossed, it kind of works. I've got all the cameras set up, so I don't have to fiddle about with changing the cameras, you know, for different angles. I've got all the angles covered, and yeah, very happy with it as it is now. I'll probably change it again in 6 months' time if I buy some new gear, but nothing new on the horizon to buy. I don't need any more gear. Want more gear, but don't need any more gear. So there we go. That is a little studio update, a little bit of an update of where I am. So keep an eye out for new music. That's going to be on its way. Keep an eye out for, I'm going to do a very in-depth series on playing live, where I'll go through that live rig in full detail, go through the Ableton set in full detail, basically taking it from how I get a finished song and play it live, different ways of doing that. So that'll be a video in quite a few parts. If you want to subscribe to the channel, then for the price roughly of a cup of coffee a month, then you can do so via Patreon. There are links in the description. So that's much appreciated. Helps to keep the channel going and all that kind of thing. I will, I think, on there put that Ableton Live set on Patreon to share to the supporters on there, so you'll be able to see exactly how I do it and put it all together. And you can have all the stems for my songs as well for free, and you can remix them or do whatever you want with them. So that's that. Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye.